Take 3. All right, everybody, I am Prepper Princess, the author of Living on Almost Nothing. I have lived on less than $1,000 for my entire adult life. If you're interested in learning how I do it, I will leave a link for the book in the description box down below. So today I wanted to give you guys an update. This is a requested video on the power outage that we had a couple of weeks ago, what I did right, what I did wrong, and how I would like to change. So, and a lot of people are saying that I'm not a prepper anymore, and that couldn't be any further from the truth. So a couple of the things that I did right, first and foremost, I did my cooking on my solar oven. So I have a solar oven and I wasn't worried about cooking because I don't need any power in order to do it, which is awesome. Also, as soon as the storm came through, I filled up my bathtubs. Just as a precaution, anytime that there is a storm that passes through anywhere that I've ever lived, I always fill up the bathtubs. So that's really super important. And because I filled up the bathtubs during the storm, there was a water main break and the water flow stopped. It only stopped for a few hours, maybe 3 or 4 hours, but if it would have lasted longer, it would have been a really big inconvenience. So there's something that I want to stress on this video, which is really important. And that is that you cannot trust the news ever at all anymore. Now, I'm not talking about ABC, NBC, CBS, MSNBC, Fox News, whatever. I'm talking about any news you get is totally inaccurate. And that happened during that storm. Let me explain. So everyone should have a radio, including a weather band radio. And because I had solar, I was able to have internet. So I was checking updates on my city's website and checking the weather band radio. The problem with both of them were, don't worry, folks, we'll have this up and going within 4 hours. Then it turned into 8, then 10, then 12, then 24, then 48, then 72. And some people were out of power for like a week. It was like a really, really long time. But they were giving us inaccurate information. A lot of the things that I did was because of the inaccurate information that I was getting. A lot of people said, why are you so cheap that you wouldn't get a hotel? No, I would have gotten a hotel in a heartbeat. But all of the news that we were getting, no matter where you looked or listened, was telling us first and foremost that nothing had power within an hour and a half drive. So 100 miles, nobody had power. So even if I were to get a hotel, they wouldn't have power, so I'd be no better off in a hotel than I would be at home. In fact, I'd be worse off because I wouldn't have the solar generator or my refrigerator. And they also told us that all of the news stations and the city website was telling us that all of the roads were closed because of downed power lines and debris left over by the storm. So even if I wanted to go somewhere, all of the roads were closed. And the only hotel that had power was completely booked solid. And I would have, and let's say I wanted to take my e-bike and just go there, right? I just wanted to go to the hotel. I'll take the dogs. We could walk there. I don't know, whatever the case. If I wanted to get to the hotel, I would have had to cross the Colorado River in order to get to the only hotel that had electricity, which was already booked solid. So there was nowhere to go. And when you live in the desert, and that means, by the way, that means no gas stations. None of the gas stations were open. Nothing was open. Even Walmart was closed. Everybody was closed. Literally everything was closed. And when you live in the desert, you're like, okay, well, I'll drive, 200 miles to the nearest place that has electricity. So you run the risk of running out of gas in the middle of the desert with an elderly dog and a puppy. You run the risk of going out into the desert and running out of gas. It's a risk that you would have to take just to get a hotel room for one night. So that's something to keep in mind. Another thing is, so the solar that I had is an Energy Apex 1500 watts with 500 watts coming in and an additional storage battery. So if I were to use that unit on the air conditioner that I have that's in my 12 by 10 laundry room, first of all, we were in a heat wave at 118 degrees, and if you use an air conditioner in 118, it's only going to bring the temperature down to about 98 degrees. But it's only going to work for about 4 hours until you run out of power. So I would have only had 4 hours of air conditioning in a 12 by 10 room, or I could put Rocky in the car for 24 or 48 hours until I ran out of gas and just kept it going. And it probably would have lasted like a week. But I had a choice, either my refrigerator, TV, and entertainment, or the air conditioner. I did not have the option of both. And I chose the refrigerator because it was making ice. So I never ran out of ice in that entire time period. And the ice was what was keeping us cool as opposed to the air conditioner. I did have one sleepless night, but that's neither here nor there. So one of the things that I have always wanted and can't seem to get or do is I did a review on the EcoFlow Delta Pro, which has a jumper cable option that can go directly into your panel and power your entire house, which is awesome. So super awesome option on that, because solar is just getting bigger and better every day, all the time. It's awesome. But I cannot find an electrician that will replace the panel with a new panel that has the jumper cable option. Yes, I have talked to 3 electricians and nobody will do it. But that's besides the point. It doesn't really matter if they can do it or not, because I have always intended for this house to be a rental and for me to move. That is not a pie in the sky, hopefully maybe someday I'll be able to do that. It's going to happen. I mean, literally, I'm telling you now, I'm not going to live here much longer. So putting a new panel in and getting a new air conditioning system, spending $4,000 or $5,000 on a $67,000 house for that type of upgrade that I'm not even going to be living in much longer is not a good investment. It's not a good return. It's not a return on investment at all. And given the fact that the majority of the power outages that we have happen in winter, and they've happened in winter, and I am perfectly comfortable when that happens. This is the first and only time in the 3 years I've been here that we had a storm in the summer. And after talking to a couple of my friends who have lived here for 25 years, they said, yeah, that's never happened before. Like, that's never happened in the summer, and it's never happened for so long. So that goes to tell you that it's a very, very rare occurrence. One of the other things I would have liked to have had, I would like to say a gas generator with some extra gas, but the solar unit was doing just fine. The only thing that the gas would have given us was the air conditioner in the 12 by 10, but we already had air conditioning in the car. So that would have just been a duplicate of something that we already had. And Rocky and Nala and I were perfectly content sitting in the air-conditioned car. We were only in there, I was only in there, Rocky was in there for like 7 hours. But I was only in the car for about an hour, and then I came in to check something, I don't remember what it was, and I was filming in the car, and you saw it, and I was like, I'm getting really worried about Rocky, and I was. But then when I came in the house to check on something, the electricity had come on right after that. So I was like, yeah, I should have filmed that. I'm sorry, I didn't film that. But the electricity came right back on, and we went back in the house. Now, it looks like it had, based on the video, it had been out for days. In reality, it was only out for one day. Like, I filmed from the afternoon into the afternoon of the next day, and it was out for less than 24 hours at my house. At other people's houses, it was up to like a week. And our whole city didn't really get back on track for an entire week. But that is just something that I wanted to bring up. The hotel was not due to me being cheap. It was the fact that I was getting false information stating that the roads were closed and that there was no electricity in any area anywhere near us, which all proved to be false. There was some debris like in the first few hours, but it was cleared pretty quickly, and we could have gone to a hotel within an hour's drive, but there was nothing in this within 10 or 15 miles that would have worked. So we would have been taking a huge risk based on the misinformation that we were getting on the radio. So in all honesty, I wouldn't have done anything differently, and I still wouldn't do anything differently based on my location and my current circumstance. And to be honest with you, I think we fared very well compared to a lot of other people in the area that did not fare very well. My neighbor was taken to the hospital, and she's back, so she didn't pass away or anything like that. But there were a lot of people who are in vulnerable positions who did not do very well, but we did okay. And I did try to help my neighbors, but they wouldn't accept my help, so they went to the hospital instead. Anyway, that's what I've got for you folks. Do what you can with what you've got. Prepper Princess out.